In the One Piece multiverse, there were some variations where Shanks, instead of leaving the Hito Hito no Mi model Nika inside the chest, ended up leaving the devil fruits of the Straw Hat crew members. In all these versions, Luffy ate those fruits and acquired the power of each one of them. Among them, we have the human fruit, the flower fruit, and the resurrection fruit. But how would Luffy fare in each of these universes? Would he be able to overcome all the obstacles and reach Kaido? Stay tuned, because that's what we're going to see in today's video. Hito Hito no Mi human model. Here we have Chopper's fruit. It's hard to imagine something with this fruit because Luffy is already human. So how could he take advantage of this power? Well, Oda was once asked about this, and according to him, a human who ate this fruit would receive enhanced intelligence. So let's set aside the body transformation powers that Chopper possesses and imagine what an intelligent Luffy's journey would look like. First, how far does this fruit's intelligence go? Think about it. This fruit made a reindeer gain consciousness and become a great doctor by the age of 13. And by 15, Chopper had already become one of the greatest doctors in the world, capable of creating, in a matter of minutes, a copy of several vaccines against the deadly virus. For those who don't remember, he did exactly that against Queen's virus. Anyway, the fact is that if this fruit made a reindeer so intelligent, imagine what it would do to Luffy, who was already a conscious human. As soon as he ate this fruit, Luffy would have the discernment to understand that he wasn't ready to sail with Shanks. This is very important because, for those who don't know, Shanks only let the Sea King eat his arm, so that Luffy would realize that the sea is no place for a boy. But in this version, Luffy is smart enough to understand that. In other words, Shanks has an extra arm in this world. And this is where the magic begins, Luffy's 10 years of training. From the age of 7 to 17, he trains hard and smart to enhance his strengths such as agility, strength, and combat strategy. In this version, Luffy might not have the elastic arms stretched to throw punches, but he would still have enough strength to deliver punches as powerful as a pistol shot. With all this strength, he faces Morgan, Kuro, and Buggy even more intelligently, exploiting only their weaknesses. In Arlong Park, Luffy shows some difficulty. After all, the strength of a fishman was new to him. However, he uses his speed and strategy to bring the entire structure of Arlong Park down on top of the fishman. In Alabasta, it goes without saying, Luffy would quickly deduce that water would be his ally in the battle against Crocodile. The difference is that he doesn't have an infinite stomach to store water, but that doesn't stop him from using a bucket of water or a reservoir from the Nefertari castle to defeat Crocodile. In Scipio, he would face an even bigger problem, God Enel. Luffy would quickly associate Enel's intangibility with crocodiles. Therefore, he would conclude that once again, he would need to use some natural resource to counter the lightning. He could use things in the environment that don't conduct electricity like trees or rocks. He could also use water as a means to channel Enel's electricity, weakening his abilities or even causing direct damage. Since he overcame all these problems intelligently, Luffy gets through Eni's lobby without the same turmoil. After all, in this version, he is smart and finds a way to rescue Robin without needing a devastating war. In Thriller Bark, he would face difficulties, but Luffy Nightmare would handle it. In the Marineford War, Luffy would be smart enough to understand that it would be impossible to get through the 6 levels of Impel Down and rescue Ace before the execution date. Therefore, he anticipates this and forms an alliance with Whitebeard to rescue Ace. The problem is that, despite being intelligent, Luffy doesn't have enough experience to deal with a war. Therefore, the result would be the same, with Ace dying and the Straw Hats training for 2 years. Luffy would evolve in a remarkable way during those 2 years. Without any physical powers from an Akuma no Mi to worry about, he dedicates all that time to a single focus, the 3 types of Haki. The concept of Haki clicks perfectly in Luffy's mind. He didn't just limit himself to theory, he fought against Rayleigh multiple times and left the island to practice and fight with great warriors, aiming to understand Haki even more in practice. With all of this, he simply masters the 3 advanced forms of Haki, now being able to attack without physical contact, use Conqueror's Haki in his strikes, and see a few seconds into the future. With these abilities, combined with superhuman strength and above-average intelligence, Luffy would easily overcome Hody Jones and Caesar Clown. Upon arriving in Dressrosa, he would face numerous difficulties with Doffy, but his Haki level would prevail and he would emerge victorious. Against Katakuri, Luffy would face the challenge of fighting someone who is better than him in every way. However, this battle would be beneficial for Luffy, allowing him to learn and elevate his skills, resulting in his victory over Katakuri. Against Kaido, a great challenge would arise. The Haki abilities of both would be nearly similar, but Kaido's physical powers would be much greater than Luffy's. The Straw Hat would lose countless times, but in the end, his awakened form would manifest. The human fruit would reach the pinnacle of the human body, allowing Luffy to become muscular. With much more strength and endurance, he would finally defeat Kaido. And there you have it. The human fruit surprised you, didn't it? Yomi Yomi no Mi, Resurrection Fruit. Luffy ends up eating the fruit that was in Shanks' chest, and when the red-haired pirate grabs his arm, a vestige of Luffy's soul leaves his body. This was the sign that Luffy had eaten the resurrection fruit that was in Shanks' chest. Unlike the previous version, Luffy is the same airhead we know. Because of this, he wouldn't evolve as much in his physical abilities. Because it's the resurrection fruit, Luffy would become disheartened, as he didn't know the true potential of his fruit, and therefore wouldn't realize that it's possible to manifest his soul outside his body. Luffy spent all those 10 years honing his physical strength, and if he died, he knew he would try again. In the battles against Morgan, he would fare better. After all, he has the strength of a man who trained non-stop for 10 years. Against Kuro, poor Luffy would die. At that moment when Django made him fall from a mountain, he would hit his head on the ground and die because he didn't have a rubber body. It would be up to Zoro, Nami, and Usopp to deal with Kuro without Luffy's help. In my opinion, with Zoro taking responsibility, I believe he could stop the Nyaban brothers and rely on Usopp's help to finally defeat Kuro. At the end of this arc, Luffy would return to his body before it decomposed, as his companions would take care of his body in a proper place. Upon arriving at Arlong Park, Luffy would be even more prepared. With the responsibility of a captain and the fear of losing the respect of his companions by dying a second time, he manages to surpass his limits and defeat the Fishman. Heading to Alabasta, Luffy would face enormous problems in overcoming Crocodile's intangibility. However, let's give this Luffy some credit and say that, triggered by the fear of dying again and the concern over the disaster that would happen in Alabasta, he manages to use water to his advantage to defeat the Shichibukai. Upon arriving in Skypiea, here would be the real problem. Luffy would have no chance of withstanding Enel's lightning. Therefore, he dies. His companions would even try to defeat Enel so that Luffy could rest in peace. But just as he destroyed Birka, Enel destroys Skypiea and kills all of Luffy's companions who crossed his path. In the end, Luffy takes a long time to find his body. But when he does, he sees that it has already turned into a skeleton, and he is doomed to live in solitude, unable to kill himself, and without his companions who are already dead. A sad end for the Luffy of the Yomi Yomi no Mi. Hana Hana no Mi, Flower Flower Fruit. With Robin's fruit, Luffy can create limbs or a clone of himself. Even though he trained from the age of 7 to 17, I wouldn't say he would already be able to summon clones or legs. After all, Robin, despite having this fruit since childhood, only reached that level of power after becoming an adult, during the time skip. Therefore, Luffy has the same capabilities that Robin had pre-time skip. The advantage for Luffy is that he's a man who trained not only the powers of his fruit, but also his physical strength. Unlike Robin, who uses her arms to break the bones of her enemies, Luffy uses these arms to punch. Against Morgan, Buggy, Kuro, and Krieg, Luffy's power and cleverness would prevail. In Arlong Park, the strength of a fishman would be new to him, but with his strength combined with dozens of fists constantly aimed at Arlong, Luffy would come out victorious. In Alabasta, knowing that water would be effective in attacking Crocodile, he could use his dozens of arms to carry buckets of water. Imagine dozens of wet fists attacking Crocodile. However, against Enel, Luffy would face a much greater difficulty. How could a mass of normal arms without Haki overcome a Logia? The truth is, they couldn't. Luffy would die right there, and that would be the tragic end of the Straw Hats. I have many videos in this same style that I'm already preparing for you. So, make sure to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell because you don't want to miss the upcoming videos here on the channel. It will be a pleasure to have you in the next videos. Thank you very much for everything and see you next time.